All right, welcome back to the show, everyone, and good morning to you. Yeah, I'm back with what I said I was going to do yesterday. I was going to try to wait a couple more days, but I can't. I got to know how this plays out. So we are reacting to She Love Groovy again, and yesterday, in case you missed it, he was reacting with his little brother, who is a big LeBron fan, and he was showing him a compilation video of his greatest chokes. And his little brother started kind of being open to the information by the end of it, and Groovy ended by saying, you know, I'm going to show you the opposite now. I'm going to show you what Michael Jordan looked like at the end of it. So here I am with showing my little brother how great Michael Jordan really was, and I am so excited to watch this. So we got to see his the little brother's reaction to LeBron's greatest blunders, and I'm not sure what video Groovy picked out as far as showcasing Michael Jordan, but whatever it is, his little brother is about to see a whole different world. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now because I really want to get into this. I was tempted to do this yesterday, but I thought that would just be criminal if I did that. So everybody, please leave this video a like. I'd appreciate it. The original video from Groovy is going to be linked down below in the description. You'll also see a list of channel members. Shout out to every single one of you. I really appreciate y'all. Guys, let's do this.
Now look, you remember that last video? LeBron cramped up in the final, left the game while it was a 2-point game, and his team ended up losing. This nigga had the flu. He couldn't breathe for real, and he still went out there and fought and dropped 38 in the final.
Yes, sir. Wow, damn. That's it. That's it. Here we go.
Tapping in, man. Welcome back to another vid, man. How good was Michael Jordan actually? This video, I got my little bro with me. How old are you?
17.
17.
You know what I'm saying? Young bull. And who you think the GOAT is? Who's your GOAT?
My GOAT is Bron.
It's Bron. He said LeBron James, man. In this video, I want to show little bro who actually is the GOAT. And his name is Michael Jordan. You feel what I'm saying? Before we get into it, y'all like the video, man. You know, because this video right here gonna open little bro eyes on who's really the GOAT.
And to be fair, as I said in the first one, so this guy's 17 years old. I mean, you got to think about that. 2025 now. So what? He was born in 2008. So he wasn't alive to like really see LeBron's entire career. He's just kind of he's been hearing the narratives and everything the media tells him. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like brainwashing. You know, he doesn't know any better. So this is why this is going to be so cool to see him experience something other than LeBron James.
Comment down below any videos y'all want to see next, and last but not least, sub up, man. Let's hop into it.
Straight up gonna do how. I think this is a non-stop video. How good was Michael Jordan actually?
Michael Jordan scored 50 points or more in the playoffs 8 times, more than Kobe, KD, LeBron, and Wilt combined. Jordan also had the most 40-point playoff games, more than Kareem.
And mind you, most of these stats are in the playoffs when it matters the most. We ain't talking about no regular season stats or nothing like that. We talking about the playoffs when it matters the most, when them dogs come out.
Guys, Groovy has come a long way, hasn't he? Look at this.
Combined. Jordan also had the most 40-point playoff games, more than Kareem, AI, Steph, and D-Wade put together. In fact, MJ is the only player in NBA history who had more 40-point career games than games where he scored less than 20 points.
Facts.
Jordan's godlike aura, brutal trash talk, and physical dominance put fear in opponents' hearts. And while they had to get a good night's sleep before facing the Bulls, Jordan could drink and smoke cigars before the game and still drop 40. His airness made it look easy, and he proved it when the games were on the line.
Yes.
Game on the line. Who would take the last shot? Me.
28 times Jordan scored the game-winning shot, including 7 game winners in the playoffs. And MJ wasn't just a scorer. He had the most first-team all-defense selections ever with 9. He's the all-time blocks leader by a guard and has the most seasons with over 200 steals, with 6. In 1989, when the Bulls lost their starting point guard, Coach Doug Collins made Jordan play the point, and he notched 10 triple-doubles in 11 games. averaging 30 points, 11 assists, and 9.5 rebounds per game.
People think MJ just a scorer, but he can do everything.
Between 1991 and 1996, MJ played 13 consecutive playoff series, where
So far, little brother's just digesting it.
he averaged more than 30 points per game, retiring with 6 rings, 5 MVPs, and a 6-0 record in the final. But despite his seemingly invincible legacy, Jordan did have some weaknesses. MJ led the NBA in field goal attempts 9 times during his 13 years in Chicago.
And he was a 10-time scoring champion.
He was a bit of a ball hog, especially in his early career. Jordan also had some bad playoff games, and he certainly wasn't the most pleasant teammate. So, how good was Michael Jordan actually? And is he really the GOAT? To answer that, we'll start with his genetics and God-given talent. Michael Jordan was supposed to be short. Nobody in his family was taller than 5'9", and as a high school sophomore, Michael was famously cut from his varsity basketball team because he was only 5'11".
It sounds sad, but it's true.
However, the Jordans were blessed with supreme athleticism. Just look at Michael's older brother Larry, who could dunk at 5'8".
Crazy.
So when an unexpected growth spurt pushed Michael to 6'6", he became unstoppable.
Damn.
By the end of his high school career, Jordan was averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. But despite his unreal speed and
I forget what he was like in high school. That's crazy numbers.
athleticism, young MJ was still an unpolished gem.
I mean, nowadays, do you guys think he would have been drafted out of high school, putting up those kind of numbers? Anyways, sorry, this is supposed to be a reaction to little brother.
Because he really only played 2 years of high school basketball. As a freshman at UNC, MJ averaged a modest 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He was the third leading scorer on the team behind James Worthy and Sam Perkins.
Yep.
And his fundamentals, ball handling, and confidence weren't yet at a super high level. But all that changed in the 1982 NCAA Finals, when Michael hit a game-winning shot against Patrick Ewing, winning the national championship.
18. Shot. Jordan. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
Jordan said this was the biggest turning point of his career, because after that, his confidence was through the roof.
That turned my name from Mike to Michael Jordan. It gave me the confidence that I needed to start to excel at the game of basketball.
In the next
I wonder if little brother here watched The Last Dance.
2 seasons, Jordan continued his basketball education under Dean Smith and became a complete player. He averaged 20 points per game, was a consensus first-team All-American, and as a junior in 1984, he was named Collegiate Player of the Year. But based on his college career alone, it was hard to predict that Jordan would reach the pinnacle of the NBA. After all, many great players who came before Michael had far better college careers, including Kareem, Magic, Bird, Bill Walton, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, David Thompson, Pete Maravich, and a few others. Because of his relatively modest numbers in college, and because the 80s were the era of the big men, Jordan was selected 3rd in the 1984 NBA draft, behind centers Hakeem Olajuwon and Sam Bowie.
He's only 6'6", so how much can he really do?
We wish he were 7'1", but he isn't.
However, it took just 2 practices for the Bulls coach to call the general manager and say, "You didn't mess up the draft this time."
For the first day in practice, my mentality was whoever is the team leader on that team, I'm going after him.
See a dog.
And I'm not going to do it with my voice because I had no voice.
Well, you know,
I have to
doing
do
that.
it with the way that I play.
When the season started, it took Jordan only 3 games
The
to
only other person that did that was like Kobe. Magic did a little bit of that too back in his time too.
score over.
I would say Bird didn't have to do that. It was kind of, yeah, it was his team right off the get.
30 and 9 games to eclipse 40.
Hold up.
A voice because I had no voice.
Well, you know,
I have to
doing
do
that.
it with the way that I play.
When the season started, it took Jordan only 3 games to score over 30 and 9 games to eclipse 40. By the end of the first month, it was obvious that Jordan was supposed to be the first overall pick. While Olajuwon looked like a star.
It's his first year in the league now. He coming in off the rip. All right, who the best player on the team? I'm going after him.
Yep.
Come on, dog.
Jordan was more like
And then after that, it's who's the best person in the league. I'm coming after their head.
supernova because there was nobody in the league faster than him. It seemed almost unfair how he blew past opponents with just a single step who had no answer for his drives to the basket. On top of his speed, Jordan was also the most athletic player in the NBA with an unmatched vertical jump and hang time. When he drove to the cup, it looked like he was a fighter jet. And
that's a Kyrie. That's before Kyrie. He's doing all the finesse fillet layups before Kyrie. He athletic as hell. Can't nobody stop him. He quick.
This is rookie year, bro.
Quickness served as a runway for his vertical takeoff. When MJ raised up for a jump shot.
What was Bron doing rookie year?
Fresh out of high school, bro.
Fresh out of high school. You right. Bron was, he was doing his thing when he first got into the league too. You right. But MJ put up more numbers than LeBron did, though.
John, it seemed like nobody was ever guarding him because the laws of gravity didn't seem to apply to Michael. Defenders could jump at the same time, but as they would inevitably fall down, Jordan would continue to float in the air and shoot completely unbothered.
How's the transition been from college to the NBA?
Well, I think it's been pretty easy.
Thanks to his high-flying feats and insane
I still can't believe he said it. He said it like that. Obviously, there is more to the statement, but he's like, yeah, I think it's been pretty easy.
Jordan quickly became the most popular player in the NBA. Yep. So it only made sense that in 1986, he got voted to the All-Star game, despite playing just 3 games up to that point due to an ankle injury. And that same year, in the playoffs, he set a playoff scoring record with 63 points against Boston.
But it was an incredible...
In the playoffs. That's still a record. Nobody ever scored that many points in a playoff game. 63? And this is young Mike.
Incredible playoff performance. I've never seen it before, and I had never seen it after. That wasn't Michael Jordan out there. It was God disguised as Michael Jordan.
As if MJ wasn't doing enough already, in 1987, MJ led the NBA in scoring with 37 points per game, which was and remains the 5th best scoring output ever.
37 points per game? Terry on. Bron not doing that. He never did that. He never came close to that scoring average.
Behind only Wilt's insane scoring feats of the early 1960s.
I just want the franchise and Chicago Bulls to be respected as a team. It's very hard for something like that to happen, but it's not impossible.
Meanwhile, Jordan was miserable. Despite all the fame and individual accolades, he was always losing. In his first 3 seasons, MJ only won 1 playoff game, despite being the best player in the league. But after the Bulls GM Jerry Krause drafted Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen, his life would change forever.
It's an iron win.
In 1988, MJ averaged 35 points on 54% shooting, with 6 rebounds and 6 assists, winning his first career MVP. Because he also led the NBA in steals with 3.2 plus 1.6 blocks per game, Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year. And he is still one of only 5 players ever to win Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
Bron never did that.
After the 1988 dunk contest against Dominique Wilkins, which is considered by many to be the best of all time, some people already started calling him the best player they have ever seen.
That's got to be a 50.
But none of that mattered, because the most important thing to Jordan was winning. And now with Pippen and Grant on the team, the Bulls had their first 50-win season since 1974. Chicago then finally advanced in the playoffs, winning the first round over the Cavaliers, with MJ averaging an insane 45 points per game. However,
what I don't think little bro can realize is that his story and LeBron's story started out almost identical. You know, one franchise with the Bulls who were at the bottom of the league, and then Jordan coming in to slowly build it back up to a respectable place. And we're watching that journey right now. And then LeBron had the same opportunity. The Cavs were not respected at that point, and it was you could feel it was happening. The momentum was happening. LeBron was slowly building that team up, getting closer. But then he ran away, and that's where it just the whole thing. He hit that fork in the road, and it would never be anything similar to what Michael Jordan did, because Jordan kept losing until he could finally win, and then the Bulls became one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history because of it.
Second round, a more experienced Pistons team defeated the Bulls pretty easily, 4 games to 1. It was proof that individual greatness doesn't translate to playoff wins, a lesson Jordan had yet to learn. But that didn't make him any less entertaining to watch. In the 1989...
Anyways, the whole point of the story, especially since we're watching Cleveland right now, is that's what I wanted LeBron to do. And I really wish he did, because I was rooting for him to do it. Put Cleveland on the map, for real. You know, stack some championships while you're there.
Season, Jordan hit his first legendary shot in the NBA, simply known as the shot.
A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win! Set the Cleveland Cavaliers!
In the second round, the Bulls got past the Knicks, but they again fell victim to the Pistons, who bullied Jordan with their physicality. And in 1990, it was more of the same. MJ led the NBA in scoring and steals. He was super efficient, but the team couldn't get over the hump and get past the Detroit Pistons for a third consecutive year. In his first 6 years in the league, MJ had won 5 playoff series and lost 6, with an overall playoff record of 25 wins and 29 losses. So after that third loss to the Pistons, the media started doubting Jordan, questioning his ability to play team basketball, and wondering if he was only concerned about himself and his numbers. And in a way, they were right. In the 80s, he was often trying to score out of double or even triple teams, ignoring his wide-open teammates. In 1989, he was a capable passer, averaging a career-high 8 dimes per game. But Jordan always looked to score first and pass second. And he wasn't like Magic.
People seem to forget. This is way before positionless basketball. His job was literally the shooting guard. His job was to shoot first. That's literally his job, is to shoot first, pass second.
Jokic or Doncic, who manipulate defenses with their eyes and fake defenders into wrong coverages. Jordan's passing was more reactive. He got rid of the ball only when he saw that somebody was wide open. And since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the defensive attention, when he did opt to pass, it was usually for an easy dunk. But despite MJ's...
Wait, what was he reacting to there?
Since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the defensive attention, when he did opt to pass, it was usually for an easy dunk. But despite MJ's ridiculous scoring numbers, the Bulls' offense was always average during the 80s, and they were actually at their best in 1986, when Mike missed 80% of the season due to an ankle injury. It wasn't until 1990, the arrival of Phil Jackson and the emergence of Scottie Pippen, that the Bulls' offense cracked the top 5 in the NBA. Pippen's passing and pushing the ball in the open court created lots of space for Jordan, who could finally trust someone else to make plays for him consistently. But Pippen's value was maybe even more pronounced on the defensive end. With an enormous wingspan, agility, and a motor to cover multiple players on one possession, Scottie was just what Michael was missing. Pip's
that in the triangle, for sure.
presence allowed Michael to play free safety on defense, jump into passing lanes for steals, and he didn't need to waste his energy guarding the best opposing player, because Scottie usually did that. And after agonizing defeats against the Pistons, MJ decided to bulk up, which was unprecedented at the time. Players didn't spend much time in the gym. And if you look at all the players in the 80s, they looked lean. But hardly anyone was super muscular. So when MJ returned for the 1991 season, he was still super quick, athletic, and could contort his body in the air like no one else. But this time around, he was also much stronger, which allowed him to absorb contact better and bully smaller players with his size. What also helped Michael was the arrival of coaches Phil
He dunked on Barkley's head so many times.
Jackson and Tex Winter, who instituted the triangle offense, which was based on cutting in open spaces and playmaking out of the post. If executed...
All right, little brother's getting interested now.
Properly, the triangle was believed to be the most optimal offense to optimize spacing. MJ didn't have to bring up the ball all the time and force his shots, and he was receiving the ball closer to the basket, where he'd bully smaller defenders and dominate like never before. Even though Jordan was phenomenal from the moment he stepped into the NBA, in 1991, he was at his best, and he won his second MVP award. The 91 Bulls had the best offense in the NBA, and they crushed the opposition in the Eastern Conference. They swept the Knicks, beat the 76ers in 5, and then finally got their revenge against the Pistons. This time, it wasn't even close, as Detroit was on the decline after 3 straight NBA Finals trips, while the Bulls were ascending. MJ swept Isaiah and the Pistons, who famously left before the final buzzer of Game 4, refusing to shake the Bulls' hands.
We finally got over the hump of the loser's mentality. We were starting to become a winning franchise. And this guy was the limit.
But in the NBA Finals, another legend awaited, Magic Johnson.
Yep.
And it seemed like the 5-time NBA champion still had the upper hand when the Lakers defeated the Bulls at home in Game 1. That is, until Phil Jackson made the adjustment to have Pippen guard Magic, which turned the series around. And in Game 2, Jordan dazzled the world with another iconic move, switching hands midair to score an acrobatic layup.
It's so funny that play is so famous, and it was an accident. Jordan, whenever Jordan talks about it, he's like, yeah, I misread the defense. So he thought a block was coming. So he did this, but it looks like it's so flashy, but really he was switching hands in midair because he thought he was going to get blocked on his dunk attempt.
You said what?
It looked like he was finna dunk, man.
Yeah, but he had a little finesse on it.
He was going to dunk it.
The Bulls won the next 4 games, and at last, the championship. Jordan's hunger for an NBA ring was finally satisfied. Throughout the playoffs, MJ averaged 31 points, 8.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks.
This in the finals. This is good numbers in the finals. He ain't disappearing, he ain't choking in the finals. His numbers not decreasing in the finals. You know what I'm saying? They right there. You know what I'm saying? He shows up.
Oh, just wait till they get to 93.
The defense, 2.5 steals.
Shooting a career-high 56% from the field.
And
Jordan is the most talented player in the NBA, by far.
And the 1992 season was a continuation of peak form for Jordan and the Bulls. Another scoring title with super efficient shooting, first-team all-defense, and another MVP for his airness. The Bulls once again had the best offense in the NBA and won a franchise record 67 games. Chicago reached the finals against the Trailblazers, and the media pushed the narrative that Clyde Drexler was better than Jordan, because Jordan is not a good outside shooter. So MJ responded by nailing 6 threes and 35 points in the first half of Game 1, which was a finals record for both threes and points and a half, in what will forever be remembered as the Shrug Game. And even though Portland tied the series at 2 apiece, the Bulls were just too good. And they won the series in 6, with MJ averaging 36 points in the finals. After the second finals and the
I forget 92 he averaged 36. Damn.
Team experience in Barcelona, Pippen and Jordan came into the 93 season with an empty tank. The Bulls weren't as dominant in the regular season. But even though he was tired, MJ still led the NBA in scoring, which was his 7th scoring title in a row. And he also led the league in steals. Chicago made it to a...
That's crazy.
Yeah, talk about it.
Do you see how crazy that is, bro? He led the league in scoring, and he led the league in steals in the same year.
And that was the 7th year he led the league in scoring.
You know how much stamina you gotta have to get a bucket on the offensive end and then come back and lock up on the defensive end? Come on, bro. This is the GOAT. This is the GOAT. And then in the playoffs, he's averaging 36. Come on, bro. And mind you, he's 2-0 in the finals right now. Because he beat Magic 1-0. He won his first one. And then he just beat Clyde.
3rd consecutive finals, where they faced league MVP Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns, the best team in the regular season. Barkley was also the best player on the Dream Team. And when he won the MVP, many people believed that he could be an even better player than Michael, which pissed off Jordan. But because of the Suns' inexperience and Barkley's nasty elbow injury, the Bulls won
Yes, guys, I'm aware of the irony. Yes, here we are, 92 finals again. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's this is my life.
First 2 games on the road, and
I just want to see his reaction when he sees Jordan's numbers in these finals.
Like it would be smooth sailing to the next title. However, the Suns weren't going away that easily. They won games 3 and 5 in Chicago, and they could have won game 4 too if it wasn't for Jordan.
That motherfucker would not let me win that game.
Who buried the Suns with 55 points, the second highest scoring game in NBA Finals history.
In the playoffs.
In the finals.
Outplayed me. That was probably the first time in my life that I felt like there was a better basketball player in the world than me, to be honest with you.
After 5 games, it was 3-2 for the Bulls, but the remaining 2 games were to be played in Arizona. In Game 6, the Suns had the lead throughout the 4th quarter, but Jordan kept the Bulls in the game, and everybody expected Jordan to take the final shot.
Yeah, some of the context that's missing is that once again, the Suns had home court advantage. You know, they had the better record. They had the better team.
The game. But MJ wasn't the same stubborn player as before, and he gave up the ball early to set up an open shot for John Paxson.
3 straight NBA championships. Come on, dog.
That was it. A three-peat, and MJ's legacy was set. Jordan finished the 93 finals with averages of 41, 8, and 6 on 51% shooting and 40% from three.
What you gotta say? In the finals, he's averaging 41? What you gotta say about that, little bro?
He putting up numbers, man.
He putting up numbers. Bron is not doing that. He not.
And this wasn't even his best playoff series.
This is crazy to watch. This is crazy to watch in real time. Little bro's not happy about it. But, of course, you don't start out happy when you realize you've been lied to.
Statistically, MJ was on the top of his game, and his basketball IQ, winning mentality, and physical dominance all synced in perfect harmony. Jordan showed his otherworldly ability to beat an opponent one-on-one, separate double teams, attack the rim, but also to find open teammates. If we compare the 1993 Jordan to his early NBA years, the growth was evident. When it was needed, he was pressing full court defensively. When nobody could score, he recognized it and carried the Bulls. And when he got doubled, he gave up the ball without trying to be a hero. In terms of basketball skills, Jordan was physically a much stronger player who became a master of footwork and post-up game. When he reached the desired position with his back to the basket, he'd turn and stay in the air for what felt like an hour longer than his opponent, only to hit a patented turnaround jumper clean as a whistle. The memories of anyone doubting him were long forgotten. Everybody knew he was the best player alive, and many believed after that three-peat, he was already the best of all time.
That's a fact. Yep, that's when the narrative finally started. Why? Because Bird and Magic never three-peated, or Kareem for that matter. The only one who ever did it was Bill Russell, and this was a whole different league at this point. So, yeah, it officially started that this guy might be the greatest of all time right then. He could have retired the first time, stayed retired, and been known as the GOAT until Kobe, basically.
My love for this game is strong. I'm going to be here as long as my love is strong, Jordan told reporters after the finals in a champagne-soaked locker room. However, just 1 month later, his father was killed, and Jordan retired from basketball for a year and a half. The love for basketball was put on hold.
I had him for 32 years, and he taught me a lot in 32 years. You know how many kids get that opportunity? Very few. In today's society, get the chance to spend that much time with their parents and get that type of influence.
18 months and a stint in minor league baseball later, and the itch for the game became too strong. So Jordan released arguably the most famous two-word press release of all time.
It came in a two-word statement, which is now just begging to have a Nike campaign built around it. Quote unquote, "I'm back."
And it didn't take Jordan too much time to show that he was still the god of basketball.
So he took a break.
In just the fifth game after his return, he poured in 55 points against the Knicks in the infamous double nickel game. But overall, MJ struggled with his shot, shooting a career-low 41% from the field. And it turned out that playing baseball for a year and a half took a bite out of his greatness. Even the best players need to practice. And in the second round of the playoffs against Orlando, things didn't go according to plan. Even though Michael averaged 31 points on 48% shooting, the Bulls weren't as strong inside.
Yeah, there's some context missing here, too, because I don't think, maybe they did and I didn't pay attention, but I don't think they mentioned that he came back with, I believe it was 18 games left in the regular season. So he came back very late. So it's basically just like, okay, get your feet a little wet, and then we're in the playoffs, buddy.
Horace Grant, who used to be their starting power forward, was now playing for Orlando. And together with a young Shaq, the Magic simply outmuscled the Bulls in the paint. Many people will say the Bulls lost in '95 because Jordan wasn't in peak form after his baseball hiatus. And there is some...
That's probably Jordan's worst playoff performance. But you can see why. Took a break, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't in good shape and stuff like that, but he still put up good numbers. 31? Bron not.
I know, that's him at his
Bro,
worst.
not doing that, bro. In his worst playoff performance, he's still putting up okay numbers.
I know. I'm notoriously kind of hard on him on his comeback, you know, because he had a baseball body, he wasn't in basketball shape and all that stuff. But the thing is, he exceeded all of my expectations in those 18 games plus the short playoff stint. You know, he was not supposed to win a championship that year. No way.
But watch what he do next.
Yeah, watch what he do
but
next.
Jordan actually averaged his usual numbers. Really, basketball is just a team sport, and they lost because Orlando was much bigger and deeper than them. Thankfully, the Bulls management knew that too.
Last week, the Bulls announced the acquisition of a player many people consider the most controversial basketball star in the NBA.
Yep. They added Dennis Rodman to the team, the best rebounder of all time, and one of the fiercest defensive players ever.
I don't care. Whatever. What's up?
A year before, they also added Steve Kerr, the most accurate three-point shooter ever. And together with a defensive dog, Ron Harper, and Tony Kukoc, who was the most versatile power forward in the NBA, MJ had the best supporting cast in the league. In the 1996
To be fair,
season,
they already had Tony.
The Bulls were so good that they became only the second.
And Kerr, right? Was Kerr there in 95? I think he was.
Team in NBA history to lead the NBA in offensive and defensive rating. And their plus 13.4 net rating is still the best ever. Their 72-10 record was the best of all time. And, of course, Jordan won an MVP, averaging 36-4. As for the playoffs, there was no stopping the Bulls. Only the Sonics in the finals showed any kind of resistance.
So mind you, he averaged 30 in the regular season. Now watch how his numbers increase in the playoffs.
And Gary Payton was the first defender to have slowed down
the one finals where that's actually not true.
Michael, but he couldn't beat him. And Chicago
27
won their fourth title, with Michael crying his guts out in the locker room because it was the first championship he won without his father.
I know he's watching. This is my daddy. I'm very happy for him.
Damn.
He's a voice of reason that always drove and challenged me.
Yeah.
That's the type of father I had.
Like a friend.
Yeah, like a friend.
Damn.
And when the 1997 season started.
Jeez. I don't know why that's so impactful. Man, just got goosebumps.
The Bulls continued to rule the NBA.
I'm sorry. What did Groovy say there?
And when the 1997 season started, the Bulls continued to rule the NBA. With 4 Hall of Famers, the most accurate three-point shooter of all time, and other excellent role players, no team could match up with Chicago. Running the triangle like a well-oiled machine, the Bulls dominated the regular season with 69 wins, and getting to the finals seemed like a walk in the park, as they only lost 2 games in 3 playoff series. But in the finals, it wasn't that easy, because they played the formidable duo of Stockton and Malone and the Utah Jazz.
MVP Malone.
This series would be remembered by the infamous flu game, where Jordan suffered from food poisoning and had a fever before the pivotal Game 5 when the series was tied. But Jordan played through the illness and managed to squeeze every atom of strength to score 38 points, and the Bulls won.
Now look, you remember that last video? LeBron cramped up in the finals. He cramped up in the finals and left the game while it was a 2-point game. And his team end up losing.
Yes, sir.
This nigga had the flu. He couldn't breathe for real. He couldn't even, and he still went out there and fought and dropped 38 in the final. Bro, LeBron and MJ just different, bro. That's all I'm trying to show you. MJ just different.
90-88. In Game 6, Jordan trusted Steve Kerr with the final shot, and Kerr hit a jumper for the win in the final seconds.
That's 5 tips.
I just realized something. I'll make this quick. Okay, maybe you guys don't remember. When Scottie Pippen was on his Jordan hate campaign, he was saying, oh, it's all for show. Jordan knew when the cameras were on him. So, he would act it up for the cameras. And he mentioned this, the whole Steve Kerr, I'm going to pass you the ball thing, which is right here in 1997. He said Jordan did that for show, for the cameras. Guess what? This isn't when the documentary was filmed. It was filmed the next season. I never realized it until this very freaking moment that's like the most blatant lie from Scottie. Like the most easy to prove. No, you're lying. You're lying about this, Scottie. Because it literally happened a year before any of the cameras were ever on them for the Last Dance documentary.
Trusted Steve Kerr with the final shot, and Kerr hit a jumper for the win in the final seconds.
That's 5 tips.
However, when the 1998 season started, the Bulls were running on fumes. Pippen had injury problems and disputes with management, and Rodman was more reckless than ever. But they still had Michael. Even though he wasn't as athletic as before and his efficiency decreased, Jordan was still capable of winning games by himself. The Bulls finished with 62 wins despite Pippen missing half the season.
Yeah, I was going to say he basically had to win games by himself the first half of the season.
That's why Jordan was named NBA MVP for the 5th time. In the playoffs, the Bulls survived the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Finals, winning Game 7 by 5 points. And then, in the finals, Utah awaited again, hungrier than ever. In a tough defensive series where neither team scored 100 points, Jordan proved his clutch factor once again, hitting arguably the most famous shot in NBA history over Byron Russell.
Open! Chicago with the lead!
6 championships in 8 years, with 6 awards for the Finals MVP, and Jordan achieved basketball immortality.
And if this is the final chapter, what a way to close the book.
After 1998, Jordan retired for the 2nd time, which was the end of his prime, and we can sum up his career with the Bulls in 3 parts. The first part being between 1984 and 1990, when he was easily the most athletic player in the NBA, a scoring machine beating players with speed and leaving defenders stuck in the mud. But basketball is a team sport, and Jordan didn't have enough quality teammates around him, and those who he did have, he didn't trust. The second part was the first three-peat, when he slowed down a bit and wasn't going 100 miles per hour on every possession. MJ was then physically stronger, he became a master of all facets of the game, improved his shot, and started trusting his teammates. And then came the second three-peat, where the Bulls had the deepest and most versatile team in the NBA. The Bulls with Pippen, rookie Kukoc, and Kerr won 55 games in the 1994 season, and they played without Jordan, Rodman, and Harper, who was maybe the most...
not a rookie, by the way.
Most underrated teammate MJ ever had. When they all got together in 1996, it was game over for the league. But having good teammates is essential to winning in the NBA, especially when you're past your physical prime. Jordan lost a chunk of his quickness during the second three-peat, but that's like when a Ferrari loses 100 horsepower. It's still faster than almost anything else on the road. And that answers the question, how good was Michael Jordan actually? Even when he wasn't at his best, Jordan was still the best player in the league. If you divide his career into 3 parts, each part would suffice for a Hall of Fame career. In his first 6 seasons, Jordan didn't win a ring, but he was the most electrifying athlete the NBA had ever seen, with unreal stats and winning all possible accolades. The first three-peat was Jordan at his best, showcasing a level of basketball that's rare and few, if any, have touched. And with his second three-peat, the Bulls won 72, 69, and 62 games in the regular season, and capped it off with 3 championship rings, losing just 13 games in 12 playoff series from 1996 to 1998. The only season of his career where Jordan wasn't the best player in the league was probably just his rookie season. Jordan was the best player in the world for over a decade, something that can be said only of 3 other players, Wilt, Kareem, and LeBron. But while Kareem...
Can we say LeBron was the best player in the league for 10 years? Wasn't Kobe around? Anyways.
Individual and team accomplishments are similar to MJ's. Jabbar wasn't the best player on his team for 3 of his 6 championships, and he only has 2 finals MVPs compared to Jordan's 6. Wilt's scoring numbers from the 60s were impossible to reach even for Jordan, but he only won 2 titles and was constantly losing to Bill Russell. And finally, there's LeBron, who might be the most complete basketball player ever. And due to his longevity, he is the statistical GOAT. But LeBron only has 4 titles and has lost 6 times in the finals, including the 2011 dud against the Mavs, where he played
Look at the body language difference here. It's crazy.
Catastrophic series that cost Miami the championship. And that's something that never happened to Jordan. And because of his decade of dominance, a 6-0 record in the finals with 6 finals MVPs, and the biggest impact on NBA popularity worldwide, it's hard to say that Jordan wasn't the greatest player to ever touch a basketball. Speaking of Jordan, we've got...
All right, little bro. What do you think about that video, bro? I know it was a long video. Felt like you was in class, you know. My boy yawning.
It's only 25 minutes.
What you think, though, bro? As a Bron fan, what you think about that?
I mean...
his whole journey.
I mean, I feel like he had more of a competitive edge, period. And I feel like that's what a GOAT need is. You're supposed to be the most dominated on the court. Even though Bron physically looked so dominant, he wasn't dominant in the head. He didn't play dominant. He didn't play 100%.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And as you can see, bro, when it mattered the most, he came through for his team, bro. 6-0 in the finals. I just feel like that's the highlight of everything. Bron is 4-6. Yes, he won 4 championships. He had his moments where he went crazy. You know, the Warriors, when he came back 3-1, he had some crazy, memorable moments, which makes him one of the GOATs. But this is the GOAT, bro. 6-0 in the finals. He always came through, never lost in the finals. You know, he came in the league killing. Rookie year averaging 28 a game. Even though they was losing, he still was putting up numbers. Scottie Pippen got some pieces to his team. He started going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Averaging 36, 37 in the playoffs. Like, that's crazy. A lot of players don't do that. They shy away from big moments like that. You feel me? GOATs, they stand out. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what Jordan is. He a GOAT. I just want to let little bro know that, man. You know, LeBron can still be your GOAT. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It is what it is. You a youngin. You know what I'm saying? I'm a youngin too. I thought LeBron was the GOAT. He's one of the GOATs, I agree. But I don't think he's the GOAT. I think Jordan is the GOAT, bro. You know? He dominated for a very long time. Every year he was in the league, he was the best player. Everybody feared him. You know what I'm saying? He always had that competitive edge. He played on both sides of the court. You feel what I'm saying, man? Everything was there, you know. So if y'all like the video, man, hit the like button, comment down below what y'all want me to react to next. And last but not least, sub up. Young Groovy signing out. And catch y'all.
Damn. Little brother is quiet. But the things he does say are pretty impactful. I just find it funny that like Groovy is literally in like our old seat, you know, but now he's actually driving the bus. Because I remember saying the same things when Groovy was going through this, where it was obvious to him that Jordan was the GOAT, but you know, LeBron was still his guy. So I remember saying, you know, something simple, which was like, dude, it's okay to say like LeBron is your favorite player. Like that could be your favorite player forever. But when we're talking about greatest of all time, this is not a favoritism thing. You know, this is just look at the piece of work, and you have to judge based on what these guys were able to do in the time that they were you know, with their career. That's just how I feel about it. And you know, it's funny to see that Groovy now is in that position where he's like, hey man, you know, little bro, that could be your GOAT, but it doesn't mean that he's the GOAT. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. It's just great. I actually I hope he continues to do some more videos like this with his little brother. Some of like the most clutch moments kind of videos I think would be really cool for his brother to see, because that's where there's a huge contrast between MJ and LeBron. And I mean, outside of just like body language, which I thought was pretty interesting, this video kind of covered that at the end. You know, you see the body language of Jordan throughout the entire video, and he's just like a killer, you know. And then you show LeBron, and he's just like head down, holding his head, you know, like looks like he's about to cry, all that stuff. And I'm not trying to be funny, I'm just being real. That's what the body language looks like. It's poor me. While Jordan's body language was like, I'm gonna kill you all. So anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments down below as always. And remember, the link to GROOVY'S video is down below in the description. I'll see you all in the comments, all right? Thank you so much for watching. Like the vid, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And most importantly, it's the be water, my friends.